before you go on about essential fatty acids, I was wondering if you could briefly explain what an essential fatty acid problem is.
Okay, I'm sorry. Essential fatty acids would be omega-3, that's common, you are aware of, omega-6, which is one, and we're going to differentiate between those. Omega-9, which is oleic acid, that would be, oleic is olive oil, for example, contains, that's how it got its name, it's an oleic acid. And there are a couple more of them, but the two that we'll worry about are omega-3 and omega-6.
I'm familiar with what they are, but I'm just confused as to what you say is the problem. When you say it's a problem, what do you mean that it's a lacking of?
Yeah, the problem is the last issue. They're lacking of generally because their digestive system doesn't absorb it well. So they can eat, for example, a good diet, but their system, the small colon, is not breaking the fatty acids down and absorbing those fatty acids. Or it's an improper mix, because as you know, omega-3 is anti-inflammatory, but omega-6 on the other side is inflammatory. So if they're out of balance, then they're promoting inflammation, and we want them to promote anti-inflammation. Okay, so I should have gone on with that before digressing.
Okay.
But thank you. One way or another, we covered it. And we're not done with it yet. Usually, sebum is produced with linoleic acid, and that's all fine and good, and everything goes perfectly normal. But when linoleic acid is not absorbed, and it's not there, and it's not in the correct ratios, then they start producing sebum with oleic acid. And oleic acid becomes immediately inflammatory to the canals, follicular canals, and they develop the blockage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the problem. Absorption leading to inflammatory sebum, and they get very dry, hard plugs. And that's what creates the whiteheads and creates the blackheads. That's a pretty easy thing to solve. All we have to do is put more of the material into the system that we want to be absorbed in a better format so that it can be absorbed more readily. If it's a moderate case, we suggest 1,000 milligrams of flaxseed oil a day. If it's a severe case, we suggest 2,000 milligrams. For example, one in the morning, one in the evening. And all they have to do is just swallow the pill, capsule. The results usually occur in about 3 weeks, but there's a trick here, and that is the plugs that exist, that pre-exist, are already there. These are not going to dissolve those. Those are going to stay. And eventually you'll be able to extract some of those and get rid of them. But the development of new plugs is going to diminish significantly. So they'll see a little bit of relief in no new cysts, but the existing plugs and whiteheads that are there are going to continue to be there. You can also do a little bit of heat therapy with them if you want to break that up. Heat therapy with massage and a good lubricant, getting as hot as you can, massaging, working it up out, because heat will begin to break that plug up so that you could move it out a little bit. And better do that than the piercing of the skin. Any questions about essential fatty acids? They're really pretty easy. And we've now, out of the 10% group, that's at least 7 or 8% right there. So we only have 2% left.
If someone does have a problem absorbing in their gut the essential fatty acids, how do you overcome that?
Well, that's a hard.
I'm having this problem right now with one of my clients.
Okay, it's the
She's got
diet.
irritable bowel syndrome
Yeah.
too, so I think that's all together.
It's all rolled in together. Her eating patterns are not good. I don't know what it is, and you need to sit down and talk with her and have her tell you, give me an average day of eating in your life, and determine what that issue could be. It could be that she's taking in an awful lot of protein. And protein is very, very hard to digest. It takes, we were not developed as eating animals. We were developed as hunters and gatherers. So we eat twigs and berries and fruits and things like that. And occasionally we get a worm in an apple. So that's where the protein came. But we are not going to catch a water buffalo. And people today eat like they just caught a water buffalo. You know, I'll have a 6-ounce steak and crab legs on the side, and then I'll have a pepperoni pizza for lunch. So it could be dietary, and it could be too much protein in her diet, and that's causing it's causing her intestines to work way too hard for food. So try to get the easy things into her system. Fruit is so easy to digest. It's the perfect example for breakfast is fruit. You don't want to overload the system, just have part of an apple, have part of an orange, peel along with it, have a little bit of green banana, not overly ripe, and a little bit of low sodium pH juice. And that will quiet it. For lunch, have some vegetables. Do not put meat into the system. And have her eat that way for a while, and the irritable bowel system syndrome will probably go away. There's another possibility that it is celiac disease. And then that's the next one we're going to do, so I'll wait on that one until we get there. But you've got to get some information, and her problem is her diet. She could be too Western. I'm a purist. If I eat, for example, and I rarely do eat meat, I will not eat rice, I will not eat a potato, I will not eat bread. Reason being, to digest that meat, I've got to have a very acid stomach and small intestine. If I want to digest the pasta or the bread or the rice, I have to have a very alkaline digestive system. How can I process an acid and an alkaline at the same time? I can't. And what do you get? Irritable bowel syndrome. So it could be as easy as, you know, don't mix those conflicting. And I didn't want to get that far into diet. But you see, and you only run into this occasionally, but you'll be able to look at the diet and just think back. Did my ancestor 10,000 years ago eat pasta with water buffalo? No. Should I? No. And did mostly what they eat was fruits and vegetables? Yes. Should I eat that? Yes. Okay.
But also, just very quickly, its absorption is difficulty, even with malabsorption syndrome. You do absorb some, so it may be a little more dose related. You don't want to get to the point where we're starting to really irritate the bowel, but 1,000 milligrams don't work, 2,000 milligrams, 3,000. If they don't absorb it, it passes through. So they're going to absorb, you know, they may get a better shot. It's not always dump more in, get more out. But it can be a situation where maybe they're just going to, you know, spread it through the day, give them more in each meal, and then maybe absorb a little bit more. Okay.
Then, we're right on schedule because we're getting ready to come to the final segments.
We will not keep you here till 6. So you'll get out and be able to go gamble.
No, you can go to the booth and pick up more information.
Yeah, there we go.
If it isn't the two, and I think you know now how you can identify the first two, you know the hormonal, you know the blockage of the essential fatty acids. If it's not either one of those two, it's probably gluten. And this is the tough one. I asked Larry to eat gluten-free for 2 weeks. How many days did you
I lasted 5 days. I'm a meat eater, I'm sorry. I'm not like
well, it isn't the meat, it's the other thing, it's the bread and all that. You're going to have to ask them, and this is very important. It's very important in all of these cases because if they have a hormonal issue or if they have an essential fatty acid absorption issue, it's a lifelong problem. You might as well identify their medical problems now.